Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of ReFrame, a live series that tackles issues facing women in wealth management. My name is Ana Trujillo Limon, and I am here with Lacy Garcia, CEO and founder of Willow. Lacy, welcome to ReFrame.
Ana, thank you so much for having me. Wonderful to be here with you.
This is so much fun. So we're in San Diego. I think I'm bad luck when it comes to conferences because we go to sunny places and all of a sudden the clouds follow me. So it's a little bit foggy here in San Diego, a little cold, but it's still beautiful, a lot nicer than other places, right?
It's gorgeous. It's certainly warmer than Boston, I will say that much.
Oh, that's true. Denver's been up and down, warm and then cold and warm and cold, but it'll probably be cold when we get back. But that's neither here nor there. We're here to talk about a lot more important issues. So we are here at the SER Summit for Latinos in FinServ. It is Hispanic Heritage Month, so we are really celebrating big and honoring all of our contributions as Latinas and Latinos in the industry. So I'm really excited to talk to you about all of these issues. So Lacy, I like to kick off. What did you want to be when you were a little girl growing up, and how did you come to be an entrepreneur, a very successful entrepreneur?
Thank you. So I had two career ambitions. The first one, when I was very little, I wanted to be a fashion designer. And then I found out that I really had very little artistic ability. So that was not going to happen. But I think by high school, I had decided I wanted to actually be a teacher or be in education. And that was really felt like my calling and my passion. And a lot of it actually was due to my upbringing, my heritage. You know, my father is Cuban and came to the United States when he was 12 years old. And obviously the opportunity that this country affords through education was such a big part of my upbringing, and the power of education and wanting to provide equal education to all Americans or all people who find themselves here in America was sort of a driving force behind that in my early when I first started out in first part of the career.
Yeah, I love that story. I oftentimes tell a story about my grandmother. My grandmother, Josephine, she agreed to marry my grandfather on the condition she'd be allowed to go to college. So she was a big proponent of education, and everybody in the family kind of took that on from her. So I always love to hear about she wanted to be an educator, educators impacted you. So that's beautiful. So let's talk a little bit about Willow and why you founded it, what the mission is, and what you've got going on there.
Yes. So Willow, we are a wealth tech platform. What that really means is we are an advisor, education, a marketing, and a client acquisition, or really client matching platform that helps advisors and financial professionals to learn how to better serve women, next gen investors, and more so Hispanic, Latinos, Black and African American, Asian AAPI, other, as we know that the U.S. is no longer a melting pot, we're a salad bowl, and we're more and more so, a nation of people from everywhere else who have all become Americans here. So a lot of the focus is around that, and we actually, but our website, Trust Willow, we are now being referred to as the Bumble of financial services because we offer this free matching service to all investors. It doesn't matter if you're a woman, what your gender is, what your age is. We focus more on making sure the advisors, because we train and certify advisors before we will match them, but it's all around making sure that we are matching individuals or families with the best fit advisor, not just who's qualified from a financial position, who's in good standing, who's a fiduciary, who's sort of ethically, morally aligned, but also is somebody that you can relate with on a personal level, someone who gets you, someone who understands you, you have commonalities. And so we're taking some of the best practices actually from dating apps. And frankly, I think your advisor should be somebody that you connect with on a deeply personal level, like you would a best friend or a partner. It needs to be somebody that you feel comfortable with sharing your fears, your hopes and your dreams, the mistakes that you made. Then they're there to help you, when you feel overwhelmed. They shouldn't be the person you're running from. They should be the person that you want to go to get help and support. So
I really love that perspective because it's a very personal relationship. Money is a very personal, if you're hiding things from your financial advisor and it's not a good fit, that's not a good thing.
Well, so many of us money is so emotional, and so many of us, I think, particularly women, focus around women, and we do a lot of work with women in wealth management, women financial advisors, obviously supporting them. But the reality is that the majority of women, and not necessarily women in the industry, right, who are sort of raised and who are more institutional investors, but the majority of women outside the industry really just were not brought up to be in control and empowered around their finances. And that doesn't mean that they're not brilliant. That doesn't mean that they can't be. Just wasn't how a lot of us were raised, right? And now we thankfully are seeing that. And I'm speaking, of course, on older or sort of old generations. I think what's so exciting is now we're seeing with millennials, but even more so with Gen Z, that 70% of them are already investing. And way they are definitely, they are moving forward, right? They're not sort of held back by a lot of the things that some folks, someone like me, right, in my experience as somebody who started my adult career, my adult life, not my career, but I was in education, I was nonprofit, I was married. I didn't take control. I abdicated control. I shouldn't have, and frankly, I paid for it. And then I became an advisor, not in a direct path. I was first an educator and a coach, and when I became an advisor, it was sort of I was I didn't have all the answers, and so I was full of shame and full of I couldn't. When it came to my own finances, I went through this difficult divorce. I I should have had the answers, but I didn't. But the reality is, I talk to women in wealth management too all the time who are like, we know this for our clients, or we know how to help other people when it comes to ourselves. Like, and it's just not just women, but we don't necessarily know. It's so emotional, it's so personal. There's so many other things going on that and we need to let go of that shame. We need to, and that's why I believe we need to get that trusted advisor, right? That unbiased fiduciary. That's the person who's going to be our coach, our accountability partner in our corner, right, and help us, right, to not make mistakes, to not procrastinate, to not do things, to not do the things that we should be doing, and also to not like let our emotions, our fear, our shame like hold us back from just getting things done and moving forward.
Yeah, for sure. So you brought up a lot of really good points there, and Willow actually has a certificate for helping to serve women investors. So let's talk a little bit about that certificate program, how that came about, and what are the specific skills that it helps advisors sharpen.
Yes. So we focus at sort of the core of the Willow model is focused around, first started really focused on women investors. And now we are seeing that majority, as we look at millennial and Gen Z, that both men and women, or all genders, are looking for a lot of the same things from their financial advisor today, but really focused around teaching advisors how to connect with empathy, how to educate and empower, right? And that is at the core of what we're doing. So our certificate program, we have the Advisor for Women and the Advisor for Next Gen certificate program, and we do it in partnership with the CFP board, with Investments in Wealth, with the Institute of Divorce Financial Analysts. So we are not at another designation, but we are doing it in partnership. You can earn CE credits, and the idea is to augment and to help to support and make sure that you really know and understand these clients, that you actually know how to start to implement the best practices of coaching into the work you're doing. Because most advisors weren't trained how to be, I know you have a strong coaching background, and that takes a lot of work and training. And so how do we help advisors to be able to start to be able to implement coaching techniques that will help them to connect more deeply? And then really in this digital age, how do we make sure that advisors are authentically communicating what their why is, who they are, communicating with women investors, communicating with younger investors in a way that they want to be communicated with, which we know starts online, right? And through digital and seamless and relevant, not big spreadsheets, right? So that's the focus. That's the focus of the certificate program. And it came about really, there's so many, I say all the time, may seem like common sense, but it's not necessarily common practice. And we built this in partnership with both women and men, industry leaders and seasoned practitioners on how to take really good, amazing to the next level. And then also to help younger advisors as they're starting out, younger professionals, to be able who don't have that life event experience necessarily. It's like you want to work with divorcing clients, but you haven't been divorced. Like, how do you start to learn about what that experience is like, not just in terms of the numbers, but how do you ask the right questions? How do you show support? How do you show empathy? How do you be able to support clients through that experience?
No, that's wonderful that you said the coaching aspect, because we have some really amazing coaches at Carson Coaching, as you know, and Sarah Kane, our VP of coaching. But JJ Peller, he writes a lot about this. Like, utilizing coaching methods, being able to ask really good questions, having that empathy. So that's really neat that you tied those two together.
It's at the core of I'm such a proponent of having personally benefited from coaching and also serving as a coach, and I am a big fan of, obviously, like Sarah. Shout out to Sarah for sure, and the coaches at Carson, and it is core. And I think that one of I think coaching is a key component. It's going to be an even increasingly more and more component of the advisor client wealth management service model moving forward. And it's critical, not obviously there are coaches who are true coaches. Not all advisors can be coaches or necessarily should be coaches for that's a whole other topic. But I believe that very much so, they should learn how to implement the best practices and to ask the right questions and be able to help to build connections, even with prospects, but deepen relationships with clients, be able to deepen relationships and actually connect with the next gen. So it is so critical.
And it's one of those evolutions, I guess, of the industry. Like back in the day, it seemed like now we have evolved to kind of have advisors have different skill sets to better connect with people.
Yeah.
And you oftentimes talk about that evolution of the industry that's needed to reach a wider audience of investors, more diverse investors. Let's talk a little bit about that. What are some ways the industry can evolve to better reach more people?
Yes, no, it is. I say often that demographic changes are actually, let me step back, sorry. Just as changes in the market require a new approach to investing, changes in demographics require a new approach to how we are engaging with and serving clients. And it is definitely, we are the wealth holders today and moving forward through the wealth transfer and through demographic changes are more and more women and more younger investors, millennial and Gen Z. I mean, in that 5 years, the power, the wealth that they will amass, it's crazy. I mean, you look at the charts of who's really taking this wealth transfer and then who's really creating wealth at rapid speeds. And so what I think is critical is historically, I like to think of it, the industry model, the main model was very much transactional, right? It was very analytical. It was very numbers. It was very performance. And by the way, it was more male. There is nothing wrong with men. I love men. Very supportive. My co-founders at Willow are men, and they're very supportive of this as well. But I think that there is definitely changes that are needed in the fact that now 2/3 of clients, women and next gen clients, certainly are looking for their advisor to provide behavioral coaching, right? They're looking for this personal relationship. They're looking for that trusted guidance. They want, financial advice must go from just being financial advice to being equal parts human understanding and relevant financial guidance. But a lot of the conversations with your clients, it's going to be anywhere from, I hear 75 to 90% focus on what's really going on in their life, that some people might be holding on to 50% that they're doing. But it's changing, it's evolving, and advisors do need to adapt. And you know what? That makes people, this human connection, this relationships given the uncertainty of the markets, given all the other things we won't touch on in the interest of time, but we all know from a financial performance perspective, it's this deep connection and that trusted relationship, that personal connection, which is actually what's going to help you not only retain, but also really succeed in the future from a business perspective, because those clients will depend on you, will rely on you, will be loyal to you, will send their friends and family to you.
So an interesting point came up while you were talking about, so my husband is a trainer and a coach, and it was his birthday and we had this big trip planned, and he's like, we can't leave Friday night because there's a gathering. And so a gathering of all his clients, right? And so we walk in and it's his birthday weekend, and we walk in and there's a big happy birthday banner, and all his clients have gathered. Everybody has cooked stuff and they all pitched in and got him a really nice gift. And I'm like, how is that? your clients threw you a surprise birthday party. Well, it was a surprise to me and got you presents. And it was like a whole, but that connection he's built with all of these people
It's
over all of
amazing.
these years, because he talks a lot about the personal stuff. And even though they're exercising, and it's what he likes to call cross-conceptual application, right? It's similar for advisors. It's that personal connection. Those clients are clients for life, and they're are part of his life, throwing him birthday parties and things like that. So it's kind of a similar concept in a way.
Very much so. And I mean, and our financial health and well-being is so tied into our overall health and well-being, right? We think about our physical health. Now, thankfully, we're thinking more and more about and talking more openly about our mental health, right? But we need to talk about our financial health is just as critical. So those deep connections and that you feel with your doctor who helps you, it should be that relationship with the financial advisor, right? We can play that same critical and empowering and impactful role.
For sure. So the ReFrame live series focuses on women in wealth management, as we talked about. In our survey results last year, we had a lot of different issues come up, but some of the main ones, one that we're trying to learn a little bit more about this year is that notion of the second shift and the shifting demographics, if you will, of more and more women being the breadwinners and then having to come home and do the second shift. And so we're kind of trying to explore a little bit more about that this year. But let's talk a little bit about your perspective on how that kind of impacts that shift to being the primary breadwinner and shift to doing, and not shift, but continuation of doing all of the caregiving, all of the house care and things like that, the impact that has on both clients and women advisors.
It's a huge impact, right? And I would say that I think for a lot of the women for some women, it's amazingly empowering, right? I mean, and stepping into the role of being the primary or the sole provider of the family. And I have a lot of friends who are amazingly, that they're just very, very comfortable in that space and very happy. And then obviously, and also in a place where they've made it also work, where they aren't bearing too much of the brunt of the household, and many are actually their husbands are now stay at home. But I think for a lot of women, it's really hard. It's a challenging. I know that for me, in my own personal experience, it was a difficult journey to that road of becoming not only a primary but a sole provider, and then now divorced. So, and and this, primary caregiver. And so it is very hard. And I think it does, women need community, they need support, they need mentorship, they need sponsorship, they need conversations like this, they need programs like, they need coaching, they need Willow, they need these tools. We need to make sure, because it is not, if you're feeling like it's not easy, it's not easy. It's not easy. I definitely can relate and can empathize with that. And it is also very hard, I think, at least from my personal perspective, to remain and succeed as a woman in wealth management. We see a lot of women starting out as advisors and less who are still remaining, right? And I think that that's a persistent issue and challenge given this, second shift and a lot of the dynamics around it, because it's very difficult, and I've lived it firsthand. So I think it is very real. I don't have answers. I have supportive solutions, or potential supportive solutions around it. And I think we're all, but we need to talk about it. We need to be open about it. We need to get support around it, and it's not easy for women, and it's not easy for men. It's a big shift, right? And I think that some individuals and some couples are really nailing it, and a lot of people are struggling.
Yeah, that's true. I think we'll get a lot more answers in the qualitative research. Hopefully we have a lot of obviously we will, we always do, but have some really great insight from some females leaders. And I guess I'm not an advisor, so it's like one of those things where I take the survey, but I'm not in an advisory role. So a lot more people like me answering those questions too. So to get a more well-rounded perspective, I always look forward to seeing those results.
No, and we're definitely, I think that I am obviously speaking and working and encouraging leadership at large institutions and smaller RIAs, that, understanding that balance of the woman's both that dual role that a lot of women advisors are playing, while they are still very much needing and wanting to be sort of that of household primary caregiver and juggling this very demanding career and being really supportive because frankly most women bring so much to the table in their ability to empathize and to connect and being great investors and so understanding and being more supportive and providing more mentorship, more guidance, more flexibility, to be able to support and to retain the women in wealth management because they are truly, they are truly needed and truly powerful force within wealth management. And we'll like to see more and more, more and more women really in leadership roles and more women as advisors. And in the meantime, we need to have more men be allies. And also, I think there's also a critical note because people look at what we're doing. They're like, oh, you're women for women only. And we're not, because guess what? There's a lot more women clients than there are women advisors. And that's not going to be solved overnight. So I was like, listen, Ben, there's a real opportunity, right? Really big opportunity here for you. And to support, support your colleagues, but also to learn how to better connect and support women clients, right? Because not only women want to work with women, but also like there's so many clients and there's more women clients than there are women wealth managers.
Yeah, that's one thing that came up too, because it is true that a lot of, the research we found in the research that a lot of like the high powered, high earning women like to work with other women advisors. So we do need more advisors, but there is
100%.
also a huge opportunity to serve them currently, which is why programs like yours are so vital to, help better serve and connect and empathize with those women clients. I love that. But I wanted to shift a little and get your perspective on, it is Hispanic Heritage Month. We are here at SID. So kind of what are your feelings, what's your overview on the challenges facing specifically Latina investors and Latina women professionals that advisors should know about?
I think that Latina investors in the U.S., I think my main sort of big thing is that I think that a lot of advisors view Hispanic or Latina investors as this monolithic group, right? And that really is not the case. And there's so much diversity within the population, depending upon where you come from, and what generation you are in the U.S. and what your immigration story is. And we have a lot of really wealthy Hispanic and Latina investors, and we have others who are not, right? But it's a very there's a lot. I think that there are some core values and similarities, which I'm very proud of as, a Cuban American, a Latina, that is, the emphasis and focus around family. The wealth for the most part means protection and care and providing for our families. And entrepreneurship, right, is a core kind of value in family business and hard work and making things happen, right? There's all these really great things. But I think what's really critical is that any advisor who's looking at this as a monolithic group, it's not, right? We are all partners and supportive, and I'm glad that there are more and more networks, but I think that you have to just ask the questions and understand where someone's coming from and what their their money mindset has been. What was the experience? What is the history? What was the government like? What is it? I mean, are they a third generation? Are they new? I mean, do they still have family outside the U.S.? I think that it's just really critical. I think that we seek to understand. We ask the questions and we understand prior to making assumptions is the biggest thing, the biggest hurdle that I see, and the most easy to overcome.
Absolutely. And that's such a critical, it's just gets back to the point of asking questions and empathizing with people and really connecting and getting to know who they are as people. So I love that. So we'll start to wind down a little bit here, but here at SID, you're doing a panel with some next gen professionals, and we have two young Latinas who are really killing it in the industry right now, Lacy Garcia and Julissa Gonzalez. And so you all are talking about navigating the first 5 years in the industry. Let's give some highlights for folks who aren't here or maybe want to I know you all have been working behind the scenes to put that together. So
I'm so impressed. They are amazingly talented and so incredibly very bringing all their energy and effort and preparation into crushing this discussion tomorrow. I feel excited. I mean, I think that what's exciting is they both have two different perspectives, right? It is not, and we also have Guillermo, and so I think that what's exciting is that you have there will be real diversity of kind of background and experience within wealth management industry and perspective on how to navigate those first 5 years, but with some sort of obviously with some commonalities and some shared sort of best practices. But I think that there's definitely going to be something in there for everyone, right? Which I love, which is very well curated, I must say. Did a great job. Did a great job. But I have to just, and this is a shout out. I mean, I'm always excited, and impressed, and I more often than not when I'm working with Latina women, especially, that we are overachievers, right? So it's so amazing. It's like they are gonna knock your socks off.
I do. I feel very hopeful when I talk to the next generation, Latina or not, the next generation, these Gen Z folks, they really have it. They have it. They give me hope.
No, they've figured out so many things that by the time they're, in their early to mid 20s, or even, I mean, I'm way past that. And I'm like, wow, it took me a lot longer, maybe at least 1 more or 2 more decades to
figure it out. So Lacy, as we start to, wind down here, is there anything I didn't ask that you would like to include or share with our listeners today?
I think that, that women advisors and women in wealth management really do play such a critical, valuable role. So if you are crushing it, keep crushing it. If you are struggling, get some support, because we need you. We need you very much so. And also, it's particular message given that it is Hispanic Heritage Month, and we are here at SARE, is that I do also, we are, as speaking as a member of the community, the power and the growth and the influence of the Latina community in the U.S. Just like women, the women who are starting businesses in droves, Black women and followed only very closely by Latina women, right, who are powerhouses, and really, so it's really, really exciting. And if you're not connected and you're not tapped into this amazing network, you need to be. You really, really need to be, because we're all here to support each other, and you need to remain in, and you need to continue to kind of lead and to transform this industry, because the clients of the future are us, and they need us.
Absolutely. Well, that's a beautiful note to end on, Lacy. I so appreciate you joining me.
I so appreciate you and everything that you are doing and Vanessa's doing, and it's amazing. It's really empowering and inspiring to be here. So
we're so grateful you're a part of it. Thank you so much. And community, Lacy touched on this. Community is really important. And at Carson, we have a women's community. We're about to launch a LinkedIn group for our Carson women, and so we will keep you posted on when that is launched, and you can come and join, network, support each other, all of those good things that Lacy talked about. And thank you all for tuning in to ReFrame. We will see you next month when we're talking with Dr. Lisa Toppin, our new VP of Workforce Expansion and Development. And we're going to dive into our women in wealth management research that's going to take place for 2024. Thank you all.